Okay, so if you see here, this is IPL. So here are some problems of capitalism. On one side, you can see the way the cricket used to be in India. There is a complete change in definition of cricket. Okay, this is a clear indication of capitalism or business houses running the game called cricket. Okay, on the other side, you can see there's huge amount of poverty. People are starving. There is malnutrition, etc. So there are two corners which you can observe when it comes to capitalism. Always remember this. Okay, so if you see, there are businessmen like Mark Zuckerberg who have earned millions because of capitalism. You have the Amazon owner, but at the same time, in capitalism, you could find you have great superstars like our Vijay Mallya, okay, who could run away, and they can be responsible for huge amount of money which is getting wasted, and they can be responsible for this poverty. Okay, some are suffering with respect to basic needs, and some are eating away crores of rupees, and there is no law to catch them. Now, this is how it is in capitalism. The game of cricket, you're spending so much. The definition of game has changed in form of IPL. And at the same time, there are people who have become very rich. Now, this is how you can see capitalism from different shades. You can see capitalism from different shades. So I think you're able to understand that capitalism, though it is market is driving, innovation is there. You'll have Teslas, you'll have people like Steve Jobs, you have companies like Apple. Okay, all this happens because of free market, because of business, because of capitalism. But at the same time, if in certain countries, okay, where you're trying to push capitalism, you will have problems. And definitely just this picture will give you a complete idea with respect to, okay, so what capitalism can do. In fact, I hope it is clear. Okay, so we'll not talk about Vijay Mallya now. We'll not talk about poverty now because it's a first intro and a basics class. So I'm not interested in talking about them, but I think you have an idea like what they have done. So on one side, billions of dollars. On one side, you have billions of dollars which Mark Zuckerberg is making, and there's loss of privacy and etc. Facebook, and I'll talk about that later. But at the same time, now who is going to address countries like India or sub-Saharan African nations where people are still struggling for a basic meal? Now, this is the challenge which the capitalism has to handle. I hope this is clear. Okay, so I think till here things are clear for everybody. Now, just a second, I want you all to see this diagram also. Okay, so this is the heights of capitalism. So when we talk about capitalism, first of all, free market. Economy is run by forces of market. When I'm saying forces of market, forces of demand and supply. Okay. Government regulation is minimum. That means government will not tell you how much you have to produce, what you have to produce, and what price you have to sell. Okay. That innovation is high. No doubt, because when you have freedom only, okay, so only then you will try to innovate because you want to make profits. You will show your intelligence and talent when you're given freedom, and your innovation will pay you. Okay, so therefore innovation is always there. But at the same time, capitalism can also create some problems because capitalism is addressing wants but not needs. Capitalism runs on the logic of profit motive. You want to earn more and more profit, and there is no upper limit for profit. Now, the problem is few economists, in fact, one of the most famous thinker for capitalism is Adam Smith. Now, what Adam Smith says clearly is capitalism. Okay, Adam Smith has written a book called Wealth of Nations. Okay, in his book also he says wealth above individuals. What he tries to explain is everybody, everything in this world runs on the logic of self-interest. Now, very, very important point he tries to make, and it is true also. Now, some students are, he is selfish, she is selfish. Everybody is selfish, and that is the reason we have survived till now. Otherwise, how come a human being who is the weakest entity when compared to other animals was able to survive and is able to rule the world today is because of this self-interest only. So what Adam Smith tries to explain is this aspect of self-interest is the aspect or a bedrock principle, basically, through which this capitalism runs. So I'm talking about self-interest here. So what Adam Smith says is everybody works with self-interest, and this individual self-interest has led to societal benefit. Now, this is what Adam Smith says. This is self-interest is the bedrock principle for capitalism. Everybody should understand this. Self-interest is the bedrock principle for capitalism. For example, a simple logic I'll try to explain. We have different factors of production. You want to produce. If there is a firm, there are different, what are the things you need? You need a land. You need land for doing business. You need labor for working. You need capital to set up the business. If you want to set up the business, you need capital. Labor is needed, land is needed, capital is needed, and you also need a businessman or an entrepreneur who is going to take the risk and set up. You take a small cycle shop to a big industry. You need these four, which are needed for producing something, which we call them as factors of production. In capitalistic societies, these factors of production will be under the private control. Okay, so land, labor, capital, and entrepreneur who's going to take risk. Businessman is needed. Now, what Adam Smith tries to say is self-interest is the interest which derives or runs the society, runs the economics. Everything is based on self-interest. For example, if somebody is giving land for doing business, he is giving land for the sake of rent. He's not giving land just like that. There is a self-interest there. If the worker or a laborer is working, he is working for wages. Simple logic. If somebody is giving capital for running business, it is basically for interest. Capital is given for interest. And the entrepreneur, if he is doing business, it is for making profit. So what he tries to explain is everybody works for self-interest. Though everybody is working for self-interest, ultimately it is leading to societal benefit. Ultimately, it is leading to societal benefit, though everybody is working for self-interest. Okay, how? There will be an organization that will be standing, and there are jobs that are created, and this is how the economy gets expanded. This is how Adam Smith says, though this self-interest is there, this self-interest is good, and this self-interest is leading to wider societal benefit. This is what Adam Smith tries to explain when he's trying to explain capitalism. I hope it is clear till here. But at the same time, there is no upper limit for self-interest. There is no upper limit for profit. There is no upper benchmark for self-interest. And because of that, it leads to exploitation. It leads to inequalities. Today, the capitalist is able to control everything possible. This is what is the diagram which you can see there. The diagram which you are able to see there, it is nothing but the dangers of capitalism. So the dangers of capitalism is if a single entity or the business house is able to control every aspect possible, that is going to be a problem, especially in countries like India, developing countries like India. There will be problems. See here, law is also controlled by money. Resources are controlled. Power, chair is controlled. Environment, issues, everything is controlled. Media, everything is controlled by money. So this is what is the dangers of capitalism. Okay, or somebody has written monopoly there. More than monopoly here, though there is no monopoly, what I'm trying to say is monopoly means you have a single seller. Money can control the basic necessities also. When money can control basic necessities, And when you have people who cannot afford basic necessities, then there will be a challenge. In countries like US, people can afford basic necessities. For example, in US, in the election campaigns, there is no discussion of clean drinking water. There is no discussion of electricity. There is no discussion of drinking water tap within the premises. You don't have such kind of discussions. Or sanitation. In a country like India, clean drinking water, there is a discussion. Sanitation, basic necessities, pakka houses, all these are not there in India. So even basic necessities, people are struggling. And if capital link aitunda? No. Now is it audible? Okay. Now it's fine. Yeah. So tomorrow there will not be any problem. So please excuse me for today. Okay. Okay. So till here, I think things are clear. So somebody was asking how capitalism can control law, how money can control law. Simple, ma. You can't buy a lawyer. Okay. So law and order can be easily handled in India. Very simple. Very simple. Judiciary is also a very highly corrupt institution. Okay, fine. Okay, so now before I talk about socialism, so I want, yeah, corruption. So I want to tabulate, or I want to put things here. Purna white paper in the loss. Okay, okay, fine. So let me put the crux. Okay, I'll market economy, connection is lost. Okay, okay, fine. See here. So first of all, I have discussed. Okay, this is something like summarizing what we have discussed. Ma, this is also important. Otherwise, you'll no capitalism. I'm scribbling things off here. Okay, so okay, I'll just. Okay, so what? Okay. Okay, so capitalism, when we're talking about capitalism, I said government regulation will be less. Okay, this is one thing. Capitalism runs on market. So I said market is a place where buyers and sellers meet. Okay. And I said forces of market will decide everything. And the forces of market are, one is demand and another one is supply. Today, I did not discuss any graph with respect to demand and supply. Don't worry about it now. First day, no tension. So market is a place where buyers and sellers meet. And in capitalism, things run based on forces of market. Means production, whether it is production or whether it is price, all these will be decided by the forces of demand and supply. All these will be decided based on the basis of demand and supply, and they are not decided by the government. So government is not going to interfere. Okay. What is the benefit of capitalism? Next thing is there any benefit of capitalism? Yes, definitely benefits are there. So when I'm talking about benefits here after our explanation, so one benefit of capitalism, I'm talking about benefits here, is innovation will be high. Innovation. So you take any best of the best entrepreneur, he is coming from a capitalistic society only, whether it is Elon Musk, Steve Jobs. Scope for innovation, freedom is there. Innovation. Two, efficiency is going to be high. When innovation is there, automatically efficiency is high. See, today we are talking about online mode. In the online mode, I can teach to 2,000 students in one go. That is innovation. So my productivity has increased. Maybe in a classroom, I can teach only to 100 students, but here I can teach to 2,000 students. It shows my productivity has increased or my efficiency has increased. So always research, innovation will increase efficiency. That benefit is always there. Capitalistic societies like US, they have handled poverty better than other countries. Okay, that means to some extent, definitely yes, though there are inequalities in these countries, but they were able to handle poverty better than others. So US, you can see basic necessities, they are not struggling. Okay, so they've handled poverty, these kind of things better than other countries. Okay, and in these capitalistic societies, they have also created jobs. Well, okay, so of course now losing jobs and all is there, but they have created more jobs than us. Okay, today we are talking about jobs, etc. So when you expand, automatically innovation is there, industries are there, job market is also there. Okay, and one more benefit of capitalism is customer has choice. I have choice, no? So today, if you see, just after independence, there was only one Bajaj Chetak, and the waiting period for Bajaj Chetak was 5 years. Now today I have an option. I can select from multiple scooters, motorcycles, cars. Okay, and if somebody is not giving me proper service or the product is not good, I have choice. So customer also has choice in terms of buying. So free market. So that means this is basically this free market concept is helping in efficiency. It's helping in creation of jobs. It is helping in bringing in efficiency, innovation. All these are benefits which are there in capitalism. Okay. So I think it is clear. Now at the same time, capitalism, there can be negatives also, which I have discussed. Okay. So you can recollect the negatives also. So one important negative of capitalism is inequalities. Okay, second is, I've shown you inequalities, that picture which I've shown you. Okay, inequalities are high. Okay, in capitalism, inequalities are high. Okay, along with that, in capitalism, there is one more problem: profit motive. There is no upper limit for profit motive. See, Vijay Mallya or Nirav Modi out here. Okay, so there is no upper limit. There is no upper limit for profit, and that leads to exploitation. That leads to other problems also. Okay, so that is one more problem of capitalism. Third important problem is capitalism addresses wants. Okay, because demand and supply. So wants are addressed, but needs may not be addressed in capitalism. Needs may not be addressed in capitalism. So in countries like US itself, the problem is hardly 5% of the population was holding 95% of the wealth. 5% of the population holding 95% of the wealth means huge amount of inequality in countries like US itself. Means just think about countries like India. So this is the other side of capitalism, negative side of capitalism. I hope till here things are clear. Okay. So I think somebody has asked this doubt. Sir, can you explain market economy? I think you have understood market economy clearly. Okay. So let's move a little forward and then try to understand one more word here. So that is socialism. Okay. So when I'm talking about socialism, okay, so there are certain countries which promoted socialism, and erstwhile USSR especially has adopted these principles of socialism. Okay, so in socialism, one famous person who comes to our mind is Karl Marx. He keeps saying all relations our economic relations. And there's huge amount of inequalities, etc., in the society which have to be addressed. And in socialistic societies, what happens is there will be predominance of government. There will be predominance of government. So the economic fundamentals will be handled by government. Government will be handling the economic fundamentals of the country. That means the aspect of production, price, etc., these things will be decided by the government. Now, when is that a particular country decides that socialism is better for it? You should understand that whenever there are inequalities, whenever there is huge disparity, okay, and there is huge chunk of population whose basic needs cannot be met, that is the time when, or whenever a country is in kind of crisis, generally such countries decide to adopt principles of socialism. Now, just after independence, what did India do? Starvation deaths in India. Agriculture was not doing well. We were not self-sufficient with respect to basic food. Education, there was a problem. We didn't have a proper health sector. Our private sector was not developed. Drain of wealth theory, Dadabhai Nauroji, drain of wealth theory by the Britishers. And during that point of time, we adopted, or Nehruji adopted, principles of socialism and not principles of capitalism. Though, of course, our socialistic principles were quite different from the erstwhile USSR, but the principles of socialism which we adopted are those principles. We were very much close. We said, of course, we adopted principles of mixed economy. I'll come to that. But we were more close to socialistic principles. Nehruji did not adopt principles of capitalism. Rather, he has adopted principles of socialism. Though our socialism was a different kind of socialism, it was not same as erstwhile USSR, but our socialism, but we adopted principles of socialism, which is, that means if we see Indian economic, it was, our graph was more closer or more tilted towards socialism rather than capitalism after independence. I think this aspect is clear for everybody. Now, since starvation deaths have to be handled, okay, so health has to be taken care of, education has to be taken care of. Since private sector is not developed, they decided that government will run the economy. That means it is government industries, or it is government which is going to get into business, and government will be the major driver of the economy of the country. This is what we have decided after independence when we were adopting socialistic policies. Of course, we failed. There are different reasons for failing there. Our strategies were a little different. See, Nehruji's policies were something like, so it was a little different from Gandhiji. If you observe Nehruji and Gandhiji, Gandhiji always believed in masses. Okay, and Nehruji believed in technocrats and bureaucrats. Nehruji believed in IITs. Nehruji believed in bureaucracy. And always Nehruji's concept is that the governance or government is very, very complex, which the masses cannot understand. So we need not reveal everything to the masses, because masses do not have the intelligence or knowledge to understand what is happening in the government. So he believed in technocrats and bureaucrats rather than believing in masses. Of course, I'm not saying it is wrong, but at the same time, this was the policy which we have taken, a centralized policy. That means all decisions will be taken at the top and pushed to the bottom. One policy fits all. You take a decision at the top, a centralized policy, and you push it to the bottom. So this is what we call it as the centralized planning, which we adopted after independence, and we adopted something like the principles of socialism, though our socialism was quite different from erstwhile USSR. Okay, so I hope till here things are clear.